Let's do it here. Another episode of Guys on the Go. All the sports talk you need from the week in less than 40 minutes. Before we get into this week's episode, we got to give love to the people that make it happen. And first, we start off with our friends over at Mohawk Honda. The fall is here. And maybe you've hit up the tailgates, the football games, and more, but you've been rolling up to it in a terrible vehicle. Make the change now. Drive out to Glenville, New York, and talk to our friends in Mohawk Honda and take advantage of the Kelly Blue Book offer going on right now, where you can walk off the lot with money in your pocket, maybe a pre-owned vehicle that you've had your eye on, maybe a new vehicle. Maybe you ask for the Pilot and say, guys, I've heard enough out of you. Fine, I'm going to go to Mohawk Honda. I'm getting the Pilot. I'm going to enjoy my ride. Get the nice space, anything you need for your family's budget, lifestyle, or more. Mohawk Honda, the great crew over there is going to help you. Shout out to my guy Greg Johnson, Cam McKenna, the VIP man, Hot Sauce, the Harridan family, and more. That's been helping people across decades here in the capital region. Now you've got somebody you can trust when you're going through the car buying experience, and that is the crew in Mohawk Honda. Do not forget, Levac and I will be broadcasting live Friday, October 22nd from 3 to 4:30 right there in Glenville, New York. Cannot wait to hang out with everybody talking about sports and more at Mohawk Honda. Shout out to my guy John as well in service. You ever have problems work with somebody like him, you're back on the road as quick as you want. It's Mohawk Honda, where they always go out of their way to please you. And our friends over at Johnstone Supply in Troy. Breast Cancer Awareness Month is right now in October, and you, listening right now, have the opportunity to be a part of the first Godzilla Media bus trip. Simple and easy as this, GodzillaMedia.com. Check out the link for the Johnstone UAlbany bus trip. Type in your info. First come, first serve. You type in your info, you're on the bus. Simple as that. We'll give you more information when you sign up for the UAlbany versus Maine game. October 23rd, live from Casey Stadium. We're going to Johnstone Supply in Troy before, and all proceeds helping the American Cancer Society. For more information, check out Johnstone Supply in Troy's Facebook page and their website as well, or the most recent episode of Getting There with Goz, where George Bijan joins us to talk about boxing, Johnstone Supply in Troy, and more. So again, the first Godzilla Media bus trip to the annual Pink Game at Casey Stadium as UAlbany takes on Maine. You can be a part of that bus trip and help out the American Cancer Society by checking out GodzillaMedia.com. Thanks to our friends over at Johnstone Supply in Troy, helping you keep your home warm here in the fall months. The winter's on the way. The fall is here. It's starting to get a little bit colder. Make sure your house is heated properly. Make sure your filter's getting changed and more. They want to help you. 6th Avenue in Troy. It's Johnstone Supply in Troy. Love the crew over there. Now, oh, wait, one other thing. Don't forget, we're broadcasting live from Johnstone Supply in Troy on Friday, October 15th. So, next Friday, we're going to be broadcasting live. Come join us and win your opportunity on the bus for a pair of tickets. Simple and easy as that. Now, let's get into it. This week's episode, Guys on the Go. We start where the last time we were on the air. Hooters. So much fun enjoying the pregame coverage, enjoying the food, the beer, the wings, and more at Hooters as we want the Yankees, Red Sox, and the Yankees season has come to an end. After game 163, the Yankees fall to the Red Sox in what could be an historic game when we look back in the history of baseball. Whether or not we're getting an expanded postseason for 2022, our pal Buster Only said it's very likely. Social media talks it's likely. And I bring that up because we may never again see a Red Sox Yankee one-game winner-take-all non-series playoff game. Did it live up to the hype? Are we going to be talking about these moments in the same breath as we talk about Aaron Boone and Bucky Dent and Big Papi? No. If you want to go back and look at this game and talk about, is it half empty, half full? Is it the blame game for the Yankees? Are going to be one of those people that says fire everybody, fire Boone and Cashman, dump? I think that's a little too extreme. As much as I'd like to take like this crazy analytic turn and break it down, we won't have to do that. It's as simple as this. Giancarlo Stanton's hits are likely home runs anywhere else. How different is that game if the Green Monster, spelled M-O-N-S-T-A-H, is not out there and Stanton's blast ends up being a home run in any other ballpark? What if Stanton runs it out and at least puts himself into scoring position? Now, I'm not blaming Stanton for smashing the baseball and not running it out. What I am saying is that those two hits, and the one in particular where the plate ends up gunning it out, Aaron Judge, Other ballparks were having a completely different story. So if you don't want to use the excuse there, like guys, he's played at Fenway before, that's the ballpark, that is what happened. If the Yankees wanted to be better, they could add the one-game advantage in the Bronx. Okay, fair enough. We got to talk about Garrett Cole. $300 million contract. The reason the Yankees ponied up and paid him all that money is for last night. When you can turn to your ace and say, go dominate the game, go be the best pitcher in baseball, and he's wearing the same uniform for the team you've rooted for, that's the advantage Yankee fan wanted to have. Let's be real, it wasn't good enough. We have to overanalyze this or sum it up. Like, it wasn't good enough. Xander Bogaerts went deep on him. The Red Sox offense was better than the Yankee offense. Garrett Cole did not shut him down. Garrett Cole did not go 6 or 8 innings strong and had these magical performances. He was not as good as Dallas Keuchel was for Houston 6 years ago, and we can run up and down the aces we've seen in the one-game playoff, whether it's guys like Madison Bumgarner. Mets fans know how good the pitchers were. We get it. Garrett Cole's not there. Wasn't good enough. Yankees hits didn't go far enough. Yankees did not get enough done during the regular season, and Yankee fan, you know, following this team of how up and down it's been. Trying to sum up the season in 9 innings last night is not fair because so many other factors played into that. Now, Yankee fan, as much as you feel like I might be giving this team an out and excuse and everything else, you look towards the future, 2022. What does this Yankee roster look like? All reports are speculating that they're going to be spenders. Oh, what? The New York Yankees are going to be aggressive in an offseason? Is that still the right way to do it? For some of you, as long as you've been a Yankee fan, this is what happens every December and January. The Yankees got to be aggressive. They got to go out and pay, insert big-time free agent name here. We can go through them all, from the past of Harper to Machado to Garrett Cole. Some teams who are having success aren't doing it that way. They're building through the farm system. They're finding cheaper talent. They're finding ways in which the team has more balance. The home run hitters, the guys who get on base, the guys who draw walks and more. Maybe the Yankees find a way to do that this season. Maybe they blow out half the roster. They look to the top of the AL East and say, we're not going to try to outray the Tampa Bay Rays, but we're going to find a way to take that next step. And if you're a Yankee fan, you got to love that, because every single season, there's not a reset, there's not a rebuild. That's not, hey, 3 to 5 years will be good. The Yankees want to compete every single year, and they'll do what it takes. So that's what it seems like is going to happen. They're going to go out and spend and try to bring in more talent. Is that the right way to do it, like I asked just a minute ago? It's hard for me to answer that question because I don't know who they're signing. I don't know what they're going to do. We got to wait and see. But Yankee fan, if you want to say from 2016 to 2021 you're disappointed because this team has never smelled a World Series, they've never competed in the Fall Classic in 10-plus seasons now, you can be disappointed, no doubt. But what changes? What's the difference? What are the consistencies that haven't gotten it done? We're going to find out this offseason. Brian Cashman's back. Aaron Boone's back. Maybe the familiar names are back. Oh, and I got to add one other thing here about the Red Sox. We had this conversation pregame with our guy, Boston Daniels, who's a huge Red Sox fan. I said, Red Sox fan, you do deserve credit. Red Sox organization and Alex Cora from top to bottom, you did overachieve. I said on the pregame that Red Sox fans acting like, oh my God, we're the greatest Cinderella story ever because everyone picked us fourth. All right, you finished one game out of fourth. Toronto was unbelievable this season. But the Red Sox deserve a ton of credit for what they did. Going out and beating a team that on paper, on talent, was not the same type of squad you thought you were going to beat back in June, July, and August. But sure enough, Boston advances, and now they get the opportunity that they earned and deserved to take on Tampa in the ALDS. Now it's going to sound like I'm jealous or petty here with this Major League Baseball playoff preview because I just talked about the Yankees and the Red Sox, but I'm getting nervous it might be boring. Because look at all the potential storylines you had if certain teams made it. We just mentioned the Yankees, right? How far can the team go? It's Aaron Boone. We go way back to what we told you back in the fall of when the Mariners and Blue Jays were competing for the spots, potentially in the postseason. How good the Blue Jays storylines were going to be with the Suns, Biggio and Guerrero and Bichette. Seattle could have been the true underdog first time in the postseason in 20 years. What a fun storyline about Philadelphia if they were able to steal the NL East from Atlanta with Bryce Harper in the postseason. The NL West with the Padres, Tatis, and Machado. Instead, they fire their manager. So here's what we're getting instead. We're getting one of the most consistent franchises in all of sports. It was one of the big shocks of the season, the San Francisco Giants. We're going to get either the Dodgers or the Cardinals, which, by the way, when we're taping this, the game is battling right now, and it's pacing for potential extra innings. You get the Brewers and the Braves, and okay, Ian Anderson with the Capital Region connection, but we've seen the Braves go deep before. Milwaukee is the person you're most likely to name their broadcaster, Bob Uecker. Yes, the guy from Major League calls their games. No, of course, they got Christian Yelich, an MVP. If you're a fantasy baseball player, you know about Brandon Woodruff. Jackie Brantley Jr. is bouncing around for the Brewers as well, so they have some players. On the American League side, who do you really want to root for? You ready to accept the Astros as non-cheaters yet? You can root against them. You want to root for the Rays? How many times I got to tell you on this podcast they're ruining baseball, Tampa Bay Ray-style baseball? The Red Sox? Do you consider the Red Sox an underdog story with the success they've had over the last decade? Or are you rooting for the Chicago White Sox, who were they ever even tested in the American League Central? How many teams didn't want to win in that division? Chicago did. Love to see Jason Benetti. Who knows? He might be the next Sunday Night Baseball voice with Matt Vasgersian deciding to step aside. It'd be fun to see the White Sox go deep. But I don't know if I can find a player or a team that I'm really invested in for this Major League Baseball postseason. Sure, there might be some great games, some great finishes. We'll find out if the ALDS goes deep and the ALCS continues to provide. The NL, of course, as well. Boring's not the right term. On social media, I promoted as boring. That's not the right term, but lacking storylines and star power, lacking rivalries, not what we thought. I'm concerned about the popularity of this Major League Baseball postseason because of the teams and the players that are going to represent the best in the league this October. I wrote down in my notes preparing for this week's episode, make sure to talk about the New York football teams winning a game. The Giants won, the Jets won, the Bills won, Bills Mafia, you want to say they're the only team in New York. I get it, all right. We get it, we all have maps. We get where MetLife Stadium is. They play in Jersey. Ha. All right, we get it. And I was all excited to be like, okay, let's give the Giants and Jets credit. And then I had to pause myself and thought, why are we going to have that conversation? I know last week I told you Daniel Jones wasn't good, and it was an embarrassing loss for the Giants. The Jets are barely even getting mentioned on this podcast because of how hilariously terrible they were. And I say hilarious because Jet fan probably has to laugh to keep themselves sane. My poor guy Kyle Rigney, my cousin Justin, and everybody. The Jet fans, they were barely getting into the red zone. How the hell does that happen? You could barely get the ball within the 20. I think the stat was going into that game. They'd only been in the red zone 4 times the whole season before week 4. So for me to sit here and be like, wow, they did it. They had this huge victory over the Titans, and the Giants did it over the Saints. And what's it mean for the... I'm going to quote one of the old Salve High School teachers, Mr. Carr, and tell you, you don't get a cookie for doing what you're supposed to do. We're supposed to say how great the Giants and Jets are now because they won one single game this season. For as bad as they looked the first 3 weeks, you want me to come on and say the season's going to turn around for either team? You think the Giants can catch the Cowboys? We're going to find out this week. If you think the Giants can be a division champion or a playoff team, we're going to find out. Maybe I'll have to eat my words. If you're a Jet fan, do you think the team right now is better than Buffalo? New England, how good they looked against Tampa. Mac Jones looking like an all-time great performance by a rookie in a primetime game. Miami's a little bit of a mess, but they're dealing with injuries. So for me to go wild about the Jets and the Giants finally winning, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm wrapping it now on the Jets and Giants. You want more about that stuff? The Hideaway at 11:30. We'll get it underway. We'll talk New York football more on that Sunday. But I'm not going to hype up these two teams that stink just because they won one game this past weekend. I will get weird, though, and talk about Kyrie Irving. Can I say weird? Is that the right way to address what Kyrie Irving is doing for Brooklyn? I could have said tinfoil hat. I could have said idiot. I could have said new thinker, a new mind, a legendary athlete, an innovator. We have all these different terms, which are the ways you want to think about Kyrie Irving. But this story about him refusing to get vaccinated, not even so much about that, right? We don't have to get the whole side of vaccinated, non-vaccinated. That whole focus on that's an individual decision on what people want to make. I am far more fascinated by two parts of this story. One, if you run a media company, hey, Godzilla Media, we're working on continuing to add our online content. But if you're someone who really has a huge focus on online written content, for us right now, less than 6 months into this, our focus is our audio side and our visual side. as our online content continues to come together. But if you're more of a written media company, you should be writing about Kyrie Irving every single day. Why? You post one of those things, articles, opinion pieces, quotes from Kyrie after a press conference if he decides to do any. The engagement on those posts, the amount of times people want to talk about Kyrie is through the roof. There are stories out there that when he's on Instagram and Twitter, he gets so much engagement. And again, for engagement for people who might be older, like comments, posts, retweets, shares, because of how in the way in which polarizes people and makes people think or attack or yell and scream and pound the keyboard. That's what Kyrie Irving does. And when you get that as a writer, you get to see your numbers and say, whoa, look what Kyrie's doing for us right now. Now, to what actually is happening for those who may have missed it. Kyrie Irving might be a part-time player this season for the Brooklyn Nets because of the state laws in New York involving indoor events. If you are not vaccinated, you're not allowed to be in the building. So the star player for the Brooklyn Nets may not be allowed in the building. What have we seen happen before? Certain leagues can bend the rules for their own benefit if they feel like it's going to be best for the league. We can go back to college football last season where they just decided to change the rules and let Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. We can talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo's brother getting in close contact with somebody during the NBA Finals, but somehow Giannis wasn't, even though it's his brother and they hang. Okay. Do you think LeBron James would have had to sit out a championship game years ago if he was in close contact? It wasn't going to happen. So the NBA is known to alter their rules if necessary, just like any other sport league we just mentioned. So what's the NBA going to do? Can they change the rules for Kyrie? The answer to that's no. Because again, it's a New York government mandated rule. So what's going to happen? Is the alien Adam Silver, I shouldn't even say alien because Kyrie was probably going to take on that. Is Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, just going to call the governor and be like, hey, we got to get Kyrie to play. Can we just bend the rules for him? Could you imagine if they actually just changed the rule for one guy? The power of the NBA. That's what really Kyrie wants. That's the flex he's putting on right now to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Figure it out. If that's not what's going to happen, then I'm just not going to play. Can't trade him. Isn't there rumors out there that if Kyrie gets traded, that Kevin Durant's just going to retire? Everyone's going to leave? We're just not going to have it happen? Kyrie and his teammates have decided we'll say whether or not you're getting traded. As if those guys have the controls in the video games right now. The GM and coach are just there because they have to have one. That's the power of what's going on right now. I am beyond fascinated with Kyrie's vaccinated, non-vaccinated takes and how it's going to affect the league. Because as of right now of this taping, he's going to be a part-time player. Think about that where you work. If you told your boss, hey, here's what's going down, right? I make $35. Yeah, that's right. Kyrie makes $35 million scheduled to be paid this season. I'm not going to follow the rules. I know this is what you told me I have to do, but I'm not going to do it. So you can pay me if you want. If not, don't. That's what Kyrie's trying to pull off right now. Nothing I can even think about in my lifetime as a sports fan can be compared to this. This is not holding out for a contract in the NFL. This is not service time in baseball where a player just wants to go to the big leagues quicker and MLB teams wait so they can have him under contract long. This is like nothing I've ever heard of before. I'm trying to think of like even like religious moves. Like I wasn't around for Sandy Koufax. I know Sean Green had some religious factors that worked into his life. Not even players missing games for the birth of their children. This is like nothing that has ever happened in most of your lifetimes. That an athlete has said, I'm just not going to follow the rules. I'm going to do it my way and tough shit if you don't like it. And Brooklyn has to throw up their hands and be like, what are we supposed to do? We could get rid of him. All right, so trade him. Do it. What has Kyrie done to earn the respect from these guys? Did I miss it? Like, Brooklyn didn't win the championship last season. Brooklyn didn't even win the East last year. If Kevin Durant's foot's a little bit smaller, maybe we're having a different discussion. But Kyrie has done none of those things to earn these type of rights. To flex on him like he is. How about Boston Celtic fan? Did I miss when they won the championship with Kyrie? I know he did when LeBron James was there. Where do you want to go back to the Kyrie thing? To saying he was better off without LeBron, that the earth was flat, that he wanted to boycott the season. There's a new clip out there that said Kyrie was confused why Milwaukee was using a court from the 1980s and 70s because he got confused of when the court was. I couldn't even begin with some of the stuff with Kyrie, but keep an eye on this. Continue to watch it. Continue to read about it. Because what we're about to watch may never happen again or happen before in your lifetime where an athlete just says, here are the rules I'm going to play under. I didn't even mention the time that Kyrie just missed games last season because of political reasons. By political reasons, he was affected by what was happening outside of his team and just decided not to show up for games. When the Capitol riots were happening, Kyrie said, I'm not going to come and play. It's affected me too much. I'm not going to play. I'm not a fan of Kyrie. I'm sure we got a few more Kyrie rants coming on this podcast. But this is the most intriguing of all of them. How Brooklyn handles a guy that throws up his hands and says, I don't want to play by those rules. I'll do it my way. There's more to this Urban Meyer story than just the video that's gone viral this past week. For those who don't know what we're talking about, Urban Meyer video goes viral of him at we'll call it a club for the sake of this conversation, a young female grinding, dancing upon Urban Meyer's lap. Now, if you're an Urban Meyer fan, you might defend him and say he's trying to block himself. He's not trying to physically engage with the girl. The girl's just doing her thing, dancing on him, and he's just there, and he's not pushing her off. From when I originally watched the video, it felt as if he was set up because the person who let this video become viral made a Twitter account just to go get Urban Meyer. Named the Twitter account, Urban, and then shared it to Barstool, and they shared it, and more people did, and that's how it became a story of that video they basically caught on their phone with Urban Meyer. If you're not an Urban Meyer fan, we can add you to the list of people because that's what's happened here. One of the great college football coaches of all time, whatever your list is, Urban Meyer's got to be somewhere between 6 and 8. You could extend it 5 to 10 if you want. A top 10 college football coach of all time. Remember just like 10 months ago when people thought about the idea that Urban Meyer could go to the NFL and what it would be like, the innovative offense he had in the past with Utah and Florida and Ohio State? The problem was that in 2021, people don't believe what Urban Meyer says. Yeah, you can go through the list of great, and any real college football coach, and most would say they're salesmen and they lie to their players, they lie to the parents, they lie, so they can continue to find ways to win and keep their jobs. But Urban Meyer took it to a whole nother level. When it came to why he left Florida, some may have said that he conveniently used mental health as an excuse. Same with Ohio State and what happened behind the scenes there, whether or not he was doing his best to stop crimes outside of the program is debatable still. And now at the NFL, and we could run through the list of things he's done at Jacksonville, whether it's drafted Travis Etienne when they already had a running back and tried to move him to wide receiver and said there was an open competition between Trevor Lawrence and Gardner Minshew. Go to Tom Goss, TOMG, it was easy on Twitter, and see the full list. I won't make you run through it. Let's just say it hasn't gone well. It's not so much about the I'm the boss, this is my team mindset that a lot of college coaches can have. It's not be just the stiff personality that he's not like Pete Carroll or Matt Rule. It's about being real and authentic with your players. That the players who are now adults and multi-millionaires want to believe in their coach. They want to go out and say, this guy's in the same type of battle with us. Even though he's not strapping on a helmet and shoulder pads, he's on our team. That's what matters, a team. Not a boss and a coach, but a team. And that's the problem with Urban Meyer. Has he ever connected with his players? I know there's a story out there about Trevor Lawrence saying Urban Meyer and him have been good together so far, but he's a rookie, he doesn't know better. That's been the problem with Urban Meyer. Not this girl dancing on him in the video. Not him doing stupid stuff and talking about whether or not overall COVID players were cut because of that and how badly he loves Kadarius Toney and how he wished he would have had him. That's not even the stuff, as stupid as that is. It's about the locker room. It's about the attitude around the players. And for any college coach for the future, you can't walk in and say, this is my place, we're going to do it my way. That's not how the NFL works. And now with the rumor out there about USC, I said it as a joke a few weeks ago that he was going to jump to USC. The problem is that when you lie constantly and you make it such a public stage to lie, people won't believe anything you say. That's why it hasn't worked out at Jacksonville. Because everyone says, you've done it before, we believe you're going to do it again. And sure enough, If I was told right now, place some money, 2022, where's Urban Meyer most likely coaching? Jacksonville or Southern California leading the Trojans? I would tell you USC. All right, some of you love this part of the podcast. Some of you, I know you. I know some of you just fast forward for the picks. I'm on to you. I sniff it out every single week. Nice try. Before we get to the picks, shout out to our friends over at Football on the Know. Godzilla Media is out live this Thursday if you're listening. Our guys, Jimmy and Joe, out at Football on the Know and Denola, 6 to 8, getting you ready for Thursday Night Football as the LA Rams take on the Seattle Seahawks. Come out, support the show, watch those guys. My guy Jimmy said he's got some interesting things potentially planned for the show. I'm going to come a little bit later, catch some first half action with everybody. So exciting to have those guys out in Denola. Football on the Know. Enjoy that coming up. Again, Thursday night. You're listening to this on a Thursday. Head over there. That's where you watch the football action. Enjoy dinner at Denola. Now, let's get to the picks. For the first time this season, I like more NFL games than college games. So 6 weeks into this, I know it's week 5 of the NFL, but with that extra college week, we're going to hold off on the NFL picks for now. And let's just remind you of my record right now because we're basically back over 500. 13-10. We've been above 500 the entire season in college football. For the NFL, we are now 7-7. 7-7 in the NFL. Let's go college first, and we start on a Friday night. Now, last week I told you I took Kansas State football. They covered against Oklahoma. Their record against the spread over the last 10 years is insane. Here's a stat for you. Since 2011, the number one team that's covered the most against the spread is Liberty. However, Liberty has not been an FBS team for that entire period from 2011, so I'm going to scratch the Flames off. The number one team is Kansas State. I gave that to you last week. Who is number 3 on that list? That is the Temple Owls. Temple, Friday night, 29.5 against Cincinnati. They're the dogs to the Bearcats, and rightfully so. Cincinnati had a big win over Notre Dame, and that's the key. If you're a Cincinnati Bearcat player, you just had your biggest win of the season. National stage, Desmond Ritter's talking Heisman Trophy. Now you got to flip around on a short week and play a Temple team that's not very good. Cincy doesn't think of this as a big game. Temple thinks after their win against Memphis, they can beat anybody. I love the Owls. Take Temple, minus 29.5 on a Friday night. For the first time in the history of Guys on the Go, my Syracuse Orange make the picks. And last week I was pumping out my chest telling you about the Buccaneers. And I know at the end of that Buccaneer-Patriot game, I said, I'm never betting my favorite team. It's way too much. It's too hard. You root for the wrong stuff. Even when Folks' field goal hit the upright, I'm like, thrilled that Tampa won. Would have liked it more if they covered. That's hard to do. Now, this is different because I root for Syracuse to win every single week. So the Orange are a 6.5-point dog to Wake Forest. Wake Forest is now in that top 19 of the country. Syracuse loses at the buzzer against Florida State. A few calls go their way against Rutgers. The Orange have played well at home this season. They are a 6.5-point underdog to Wake. Give me Syracuse in that game. So I've got Temple, I've got Syracuse, Northern Illinois versus Toledo. I cannot get this game off my mind. Toledo, the Rockets now seem to be the team that can win the MAC. That line is at 12.5. Northern Illinois has been one of the surprises of this season. They were supposed to stink. They don't stink. Toledo can just score more. Toledo almost beat Notre Dame. Because of that, I'm going Toledo, but boy, that game scares me a little bit. And I say that just because Northern Illinois is so much better than anybody thought they would be. I wanted to take Bowling Green, and here's why I want to take Bowling Green at 14.5. Here's a great stat for you. There is only one team so far in college football that is undefeated with the spread. That means they've covered every single game. That is Bowling Green. I'm not going to take Bowling Green, though. Oh, and I've been so back and forth on this fourth one. I really want to go with 3. Okay, here's my other 2 picks I'm thinking about taking. I'm just talking out loud with you right now. All right. So I want to take Wyoming and Air Force, 47.5 over. Right now, if you combine the outputs by Wyoming and Air Force this season, you'd have 69.5 points and over 800 yards of offense. How the hell is that the over-under 47.5? I'm taking the over. I almost took the under in Kentucky LSU. The reason why I'm not taking the under is because I went 0 for 2 in my SEC bets last week, so I'm a little scared off by the conference now, and that's why I'm staying away from the Pac-12 too. Those conferences are just a mess when it comes for me wagering. Here's why I want to take the under in Kentucky LSU. Kentucky's last 3 opponents. No, let's expand it. 4-5. Here's what Kentucky defense has done. 10, 23, 10, and 13. Nobody can move the ball against Kentucky. But because it's likely going to be a game in which both offenses have to show up, and both the units, remember that wild Hail Mary, the miracle in Lexington? Because of the unpredictability of that, I'm not going to take it. Okay, so those are my picks. Temple, we're going to take Temple. We're going to take Syracuse. We're going to take the over in Wyoming Air Force. And we're going to take Toledo. Those are the picks. Move on to the NFL. You already know 2 games right off the top. Until these lose, we're going to keep rolling with them. Until our eyes bleed. Broncos under. Denver keeps cashing for me. Let's do it one more time. It's over under in an NFL game. 39.5 for Broncos Steelers. Give it to me. Under for the Broncos. The Browns. Let's keep rolling with Cleveland. Love this matchup because the Chargers look so good on Monday. I told you in an earlier podcast, I used to think the teams on Monday Night Football that would win wouldn't cover the next week. We'll see if that logic for my dad pays off. Cleveland, this is for Gaz in his bank account. Browns, straight money line victory over the Chargers in that 4:05 kickoff. Love those games. Now this one might not be on the board because of the uncertainty of Jimmy Garoppolo's status for the game, so don't be shocked if you go to wherever you place your bets and you don't see this game on the board. Love the Cardinals in a divisional matchup against San Francisco. Everyone's looking at Arizona as the only undefeated team. I doubted Cliff Kingsbury's ability. I think Trey Lance stinks. I don't know why people think he's good. I think it's because of the possibility of his highlights and his mobility. But all these rookie quarterbacks so far have struggled. I don't know why it would be any different for Lance. There might be a reason why he wasn't on the field. Maybe he was struggling, a guy who's barely played in the last 2 years because of COVID. Arizona mops the floor with San Francisco. So I got the Cardinals. And also, by the way, I called that at the Hideaway. Again, one more plug here for the Hideaway. The Hideaway NFL picks, I told you straight up Arizona was going to beat LA. I should have used that on the podcast, but I didn't. Arizona, Cleveland, Denver, Pittsburgh under. Let's go with the over in Bills Chiefs, 56.5. I like that. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, they're just going to throw the ball. Both teams have no idea how to run the ball, so a long game, more points. I like that whole spot there. So those are my 4 picks, and I'm going to do one more. Yeah, let's do it. Cowboys, Giants, 7 points. Divisional game, that's a lot. New York's coming off a victory. I feel as if Dallas wants to pound New York. They want to make sure the Cowboys do not let anyone even get close in this division this season. Dallas, after that lone loss to Tampa early in the year, they beat LA. I'm talking about the Chargers. They smashed Philadelphia. They went out and beat a really good Panther team that I thought was going to cover against them. This one's the Cowboys. So there's my picks in the NFL. 5 picks this week in the NFL. I'm taking Dallas, Cleveland, Arizona, over in Buffalo and Kansas City, under in Denver and Pittsburgh. There you go. Another episode. Guys on the go. You heard all the spots we're going to be at this week. Nonola Thursday, the Hideaway on Sunday, the Deuce on Saturday. So much happening. Cannot wait to be a part of it. And don't forget, one more time, Johnstone Supply in Troy. Sign up for the bus trip. Hoping to have a lot of fun with you guys coming up. Enjoy the week. Win some bets. Talk again soon.